So let me give y'all a little story real quick. I'm about to tell y'all a little quick story. Turn off the channel EQ. So, I'm gonna tell y'all a little quick story, okay? So, the year is 2013, right? And I remember when Kendrick Lamar had been rumored that he was working on a jazz project. We all didn't know. Yeah, this story might make it to YouTube, but just peep game on this, right? So the year is 2013. KNXWLEDGE, my buddy, is blowing up on through SoundCloud and everything. And I remember thinking like, man, what would be really cool is if like we had someone from our section of the community. Like, think about just where this was. 2013 was a different time in beat making history. So you had a lot of really talented producers, beat makers. Everybody had to move to LA or move to a community that had a sound in order to get the exposure, okay? Not everybody was Flying Lotus. Not everybody was a Square Pusher. Not everybody was Aphex Twin. Those type of people come along every once in a while. And so I was just like, man, what if someone that was like us produced for a major artist at the time? And around that time, Good Kid, Mad City, Kendrick, that was like a huge deal that Kendrick was doing nothing but straight up jazz for a whole album. I think that For Free interlude dropped, or You dropped. It was so left field from what he was doing. I remember people on YouTube, blogs, the whole landscape of the internet was doing something completely different. And then I'll never forget, I'm blanking on the name that song Knowledge produced, but he produced the record. And it was the single for To Pimp a Butterfly. Now, being 2013, 2014, 10 years ago, it was Mama. That's exactly what it was. That track, when Mama dropped, it was like we finally got in the door. You know, it was like finally someone that represents us is now getting the cosign from a Kendrick Lamar. And that was a really, really big deal. And I know for a fact, like seeing that name after watching those countless Boiler Room shows, those countless set lists of the most talented like producers play their beats for an hour 30, 2 hours, seeing KNXWLEDGE, me staying up till like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, knowing I got high school class, watching my buddy play on a Boiler Room. That was like a huge deal. And when he got that placement, I just remember thinking like, yo, it's possible. It is a really, really big possibility that like someone like me from, you know, just playing beats and playing samples, and someone like that can get a major placement. So I remember that motivated the heck out of me, dude. I remember thinking like, yo, if Knowledge can do this, then I can do this too. Hence, okay, so hence this. So y'all remember when I was rocking like the hair pick and the glasses for a hot minute? I want you guys to go back. Peep Ringo's Breakfast with Mind Design. His first session. He had the glasses, he had the afro pick, and he had the afro. I got the influence from both Knowledge and Questlove to do the hair pick thing. So they was the creation of my like alias in a way. Like that was the thing that was gonna like create what I do. So shout out to Knowledge for like creating the bridge and the gap for someone like me, a kid from freaking middle of Florida, to essentially do what I'm doing. So guys like that was I'm telling you, that was like game changer. Like I was like, yo, we can blow up off of doing beats, bro. All we need is just to make the right connections and shoot, we can make it. So that's just a little brief story. And I know Knowledge he plays a huge part into the story I do, as well as Questlove. They both play a huge component into my story and what I'm doing. So yeah, I listen to literally everything Knowledge had before the Spotify thing. You know, he was uploading a lot of his tracks to the early SoundCloud and Bandcamp. Y'all remember when Bandcamp had a visualizer? That's how far back I went. Y'all remember Harmonizer.fm? Dude, that was an era. You remember SoundCloud groups? That was the era I came from, okay? And so to see someone like Knowledge do what he did, like, and it wasn't like he was like, I have to shy away from doing this certain style. No, Kendrick embraced it. And that's what made it so much more interesting. Because I knew as soon as he was doing it, everybody's gonna start doing it. And I'm only 26, dude, so I'm not old, but I'm just, I've seen a lot, okay? 2012 SoundCloud was like the greatest like creation of like production ever. Aside from like 2009 LA when Brain Feeder came out, that's another thing, but man. Bro releasing stuff like Hot Bread. Right! Let me check in on Eric, see how he doing over there. He probably going crazy. He's going crazy right now. Yeah. Hot bread. Middleman note. Yeah, literally when Knowledge got that placement. No. It was 2 events. So I'll tell you guys what the other event was. There was another event. And I think this is where we were thinking like we had to like somehow, some way subtract who we were. And this is no knock, by the way. When I mention this person, this is no knock. When Hudson Mohawke in 2009 gave us Butter Sounds, he gave us all the production. 2010 came and Octane came out. It was Thunder Bay. Okay, Thunder Bay. Hudson Mohawke. When Hudson Mohawke came out, I'll never forget. I was like geeking because it was the first time. Yeah, Satin Panthers EP. Do you like Lunas? I love Lunas. Lunas is the reason I dance in my DJ sets. So I'll leave it right there. But I'll never forget, Hudson Mohawke came out with the Satin Panthers EP. High Octane, well, Thunder Bay dropped, and Thunder Bay was gonna be on NBA 2K10. It was also a big deal because Kobe was on the cover of NBA 2K10. So that's how they opened up the project, or NBA 2K11, one of those. But hearing Hudson Mohawke go from like this extremely experimental sound to something more trap based, it was just like, dog. Like, man, we gotta, and shout out to Kobe, rest in peace, Kobe. But hearing Hudson Mohawke on Thunder Bay, it was like, dang it, we have to, in order to get that kind of placement, you have to kind of like switch what you're doing. But don't get me wrong, Satin Panthers EP was way ahead of its time because a lot of the stuff that they did, Lunas, Hudson Mohawke, Tonight, that whole crew, Lucky Me, they were way ahead of the game. Yeah, it was basically different. But I'll never forget just how different it was that somebody that was on our community side like got the shine. And being where I'm from, you don't really see that often. So, yeah. Who else in the chat right now? Yeah, Tech Lund is also in the chat too. What's up, Tech? Man, Tech will tell you. Tech will tell you how like deep this rabbit hole goes. Are you from a small town? I am from good old Lakeland, Florida, okay? I'm from out here. But I won't always be. Any fans of HUD Mode, Pete Rusty? Oh, okay, y'all taking me way back now. So Rusty was also another crazy one. I'll show you guys. He had a project called Glass Swords. Was it Glass Swords? Or was that the song? Cause he had a feature with Danny Brown. This was my first time. My first time ever hearing Danny Brown was from a Rusty record. And then right after that, I listened to his whole discography, and I was like, yo, I'm a fan of Danny Brown. Cause it was just like, you don't hear, almost done, don't sign off yet. Oh, Eric's almost done. You checking in. Do you like dance? Yes. Scaring the... I can't say that word on the Twitch stream because my mama might be watching this Twitch stream too. Shout out, mama. But yes, that hearing those two guys go crazy as well. I can't really say much right now, but I might have a placement with that gentleman, DB. Scaring the ladies of the night. That is hilarious. That era of music was different. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I can't say it. He probably already leaked it online. It's probably like kind of like out there. Y'all might want to look up my name and Danny Brown. It's probably out there, but it'll probably like drop officially at some point. You guys will know. You guys are gonna know. Yeah, man. Let me see if I'm missing anything else. Trying to think if I'm missing anything else. But yeah, it was that era. Hearing Flying Lotus. I also thought like it was just like, you know, scary because it was like, man, like I don't want to have to dull my creativity to be able to like showcase my talent to the world. But I realized something. I had a huge realization with this, guys. I had a huge... Yeah, it might have not leaked or it might have been a trash at Googling. Kenny Siegel was part of that LA, right? Probably. But this was John Wayne. Shout out to John Wayne. He's been killing it and crushing on YouTube. Okay, last story. Okay, y'all ready for this? Okay, so the year is 2010. Okay, I was in the very beginning space of posting my beats to YouTube and on the internet. Now, I didn't know what this would do, but I do know like I was really good at something and I was really confident in it. But me being like 12, 11, 10, I was just kind of like, I wasn't as humble as most other kids, as like, you know, I wasn't humble. I wasn't a humble person back then, I'll be honest. I used to think like everything I dropped was fire until there was a John Wayne joint that came out, I want to say maybe 2009, 2010. One of those two. It was like the Bowser Time EP. And I flipped not the record, but he played it in a LA show. I don't know if anybody goes that far back, but LA used to have this record store called Boombox Beats. They like shut down somewhere between 2012 and 2011. But John Wayne, I'll never forget, I Facebook friend requested him because I was like such a big fan. I was learning about all these guys that had Facebook pages and all that. And so I added him as a Facebook friend. I saw he was online and I remixed the song. Now, me in my mind at that time, I'm thinking what I did was absolutely crazy. Not knowing that there was so much technically wrong with the music I was making, but the energy was there. You know, I was 11, 12-year-old kid, just like excited to just make stuff. And I'm thinking everything I make is good. Okay, keep that in mind. So I hit him up. I was like, hey, Mr. Wayne. I remember I said like, hey, Mr. Wayne, like, if it's cool, can I send you a beat that I worked on? And I remember I like maybe messages back. I was just blowing up his messages. And I didn't like understand like social cues when it comes to like messaging people. I was just messaging folks until they responded. I was just that kind of guy back then. I've changed. But I sent him this beat. He said, sure. I sent it to him. And I'm gonna paraphrase what he said when I say this, but he was like, he goes, did you mix this or something? And I was like, yeah, I did. Like I took your thing and sampled it. And he goes, great, because this was trash. And I was like, like, what do you mean trash? But I'm saying this internally while I'm reading his messages. And he was just like, it's just not good. It's just like not good. And it hit my ego so bad, bro. Like it hit my ego so bad. And I didn't respond to him for like maybe like 30 or 40 minutes. And he goes, maybe like 20 or 30 minutes later, he goes, you seem pretty great with advice. Let me give you some tips. And he goes, stay away from the red zone whenever you're mixing, because red usually means some sort of like distortion or clipping that's not going to sound good. And so a lot of what I had back then was squashing dynamics. I used to just really not know what I was doing. I used to just squash everything with a compressor and then raise the volume up mad loud, not knowing that's a terrible way to mix vocals and mix beats and stuff. But it was so cool that like I took that like ego hit and realized it was actually gonna make me better. And ever since I had that moment, it like taught me how to become humble. And also had another homie of mine from like an old school beat group that I had years ago, like kind of check me about my ego. And it took for one of my heroes to tell me like, yo, you need to actually work on your craft. And it taught me a lot about humility and receiving information, especially with someone that you want to be like, gives you that kind of info and gives you that kind of game. And I took that as a lesson of like, I want to get better at what I'm doing. Like, I feel like I can get really, really good at this. And this was like almost 12 years ago. So shout out to John Wayne. If it weren't for John Wayne, I wouldn't be working nearly as hard as I am right now if I didn't have that kind of like check. But it was a big lesson I needed to learn. And John Wayne, if you ever see this, I appreciate you, dude, because you're the reason I'm like kind of like I need to focus on my craft. So